Hello and welcome to GEOSCOPE on Labour Social. I'm Graham Hughes. We're joined today by Ollie Bowler Hatman. How you doing, Ollie? You all right, mate? Good stuff. Sorry we were a little bit late. We had an emergency. Nothing, not a technical problem actually, for a change, but I had a little emergency, so I kept Ollie waiting, and obviously I've kept you guys waiting as well. But should we just
keep him waiting, keep him keen?
Keep him keen, yeah. By being mean. No, that doesn't work. Okay, so let's get into it. We've got the Pakistan-Iran tensions. We're going to talk about that first.
Yes. This is such an, honestly, the more I've looked into this, the more this just gets really complicated. So let's explain the area that they're arguing about. It's actually a massive sort of slice of land. It's called Burchistan. I believe. I don't think I've pronounced it right, but this is essentially the area that both not only Iran claims to own. It's currently owned by Pakistan, so of course they claim to own it. There's also claims by Afghanistan as well. So there's an Afghanistan element there, which you remember last week we talked about the Taliban potentially looking to destabilize Pakistan. This is the area that they are looking at doing. You've then got the independence faction that wants this area to become a republic. You've then also got on top of that the two different independence factions, one that is would be friendly to Iran and the other one that is friendly to Pakistan. But make note, neither of those are friendly to the side that is pro-Pakistan or pro-Iran.
So you got Balochistan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right as well, but it looks like Balochistan. So that's claimed by Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and two separate independence groups that don't get on. There's the People's Front of Balochistan, and then there's the Popular People's Front of Balochistan. I think.
But yeah, this is one of those areas that is the more you look into this, the more complicated it gets, because it is a lot of very, very deep and ancient, really almost political, intertribal rivalries, and that's why you get those two different factions of the that want an independent republic that both support a sort of a Pakistan-backed independent republic, but also an Iranian-backed independent republic. And what happened, of course, recently was, well, almost hours after we had stopped streaming, it's like everything happens on Wednesday. Why does everything internationally always happen on Wednesday?
We probably shouldn't do this on Tuesdays.
But yes, this happened on Wednesday evening, and Iran struck inside Balochistan, which is again currently the territory of Pakistan, and they struck at what they said were rebels that were terrorists and were planning to strike targets in Iran. Of course, the Pakistan government didn't like this because they struck at a terrorist target or a target in their country. They couldn't confirm whether the target hit was terrorist or not. The Iranians claim it was. The Pakistan government has been quiet on that front as to whether it has or not. And then, of course, Pakistan struck back across the border into Iran, into a place called Siltria, just across the border. And they struck at what they said was the Iranian backed separatist movement of that particular region, who are a sort of terrorist concern in Pakistan. So this has been something that is an escalation of, you've hit us, now we've hit back at you. Now what's going to come next? What's going to come from it? To be honest, I don't know. Maybe this will just continue to be a bit of back and forth between the two states of Iran and Pakistan. Obviously, you do not want this escalating into a full-scale war. Like I say, this is, Pakistan is a nuclear power, so it would cause a lot of trouble, definitely for Iran. It would be a very, very costly war. This isn't the most easiest terrain for them to take or to invade through. It's very mountainous, so it would be almost have a lot of natural choke points. It's almost a natural fortress. Either way, side which decides to either attack or invade through that route, it's going to be an absolute, hard slog for either who takes who through those particular mountain passes. But this is just, as we've said, as we've seen at the moment, just currently in the Middle East, there's a lot of action going on. A lot of people saying, is this related to the Gaza-Palestine conflict? As at the moment, doesn't seem to be. But a lot of people are linking it into that because of everything that is going on there in Gaza and Palestine, and of course in the Red Sea as well. But so far, from what I can see, there doesn't appear to be, at the moment, any links. It just seems to be Iran and Pakistan probably having a falling out at each other over these different independence movements, over who wants and who owns that particular land. Again, something to keep an eye on. We'll see if this escalates or not. Maybe it was just, you've attacked us, now we'll attack you, and then that'll be it, which again would be the optimum solution, hopefully, towards this. But of course, as we said, this area is incredibly complex with just, 4 different factions all floating about. You throw the Taliban into there, into that area for a mix as well. You see how complicated this area could become very, very nearly in the future. So I would not be surprised if we are talking about this area in the future.
Yeah, I'm just trying to bring up a map of the area for people to see. So I'll just bring this up. I don't know how successful this will be, but here you go. This is just so you know where it is. So it's obviously this area here. That's it's shown on the map. So you can see it's quite a large chunk of Pakistan, to be fair. That's Pakistan there. You can see the outline, and then obviously you've got clashes with India over Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh, and it's also got clashes with China as well. So Pakistan, obviously famously, it's not seen eye to eye with India since partition, and then you've got Afghanistan claiming this area, you've got Iran claiming this area, and then 2 separatist groups that want this area to themselves. So this is a particularly difficult region of the world in terms of just finding a solution that's going to keep everybody happy. I always like to go to the sort of the what happened with the Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland, which was a very clever document. Not intelligent is a bad word, but it was a very clever document in that if you were from Northern Ireland and you regarded yourself as British, you were a unionist, you could have a British passport and sing God Save the King, Queen, whatever, pass yourself off as British. If you wanted to be Irish, you get an Irish passport, or you could get both and have the best of both worlds. And this allowed people to self-identify however they wanted to in that particular region. But it's interesting that a lot of these places, I think of Kashmir. I've not met many people from Kashmir, but the people that I have met from Kashmir, who I met in northern India when I was there, up in Rajasthan, they were just saying that they want to be left alone. They don't want to be Pakistani. They don't want to be Indian. They want their own country. No one asks what they want because Pakistan and India is too busy fighting over this land. And no one says to them, what would you prefer? And we've never had a referendum on it, so we're never going to know because they're not allowed to have a referendum on it. So, yeah.
And of course, the unknown element is the Taliban one.
Yes.
As we talked about last time, the Taliban seeking to destabilize Pakistan. This is the area where if they were going to do it, this would be it.
Am I right in thinking, Ollie, that this is... have they just found some resources here? Am I getting this mixed up with Guyana? Did they find some resources here quite recently?
That might be Guyana. If it's oil off the coast, then it's Guyana.
No, it's not oil off the coast. Yeah. I don't think it's oil, but there was a particular resource that there's quite a lot of in that region.
Yeah, this is a lot of this area. There's a lot of iron. There's a lot of copper.
Right.
There's lithium here as well.
Oh.
Uranium as well. For Pakistan, this is where they got the uranium from. So there's a lot of resources here, natural mineral resources in the mountainous regions to the north of it. So yeah, there's a lot of natural resources on the board here as well.
So that explains that. Great. Anyway, so let's have some better news. So in Germany, there's a group of Nazis called the Alternative for Deutschland, AfD, and they're scum, and they have an immigration policy which is, I think, it's Hitler-led. Is that how it's put across?
Well, it is the secret immigration policy. Let's put that on the table. It was the secret immigration policy that they planned to implement. Their stance had always been that they would that they were fronting what Nigel Farage had been traditionally saying of, we want like a pause on immigration. We want like a 5-year pause. We want to sort this all out, and then we'll restart immigration. Turns out that wasn't the case. Turns out there was a secret meeting had by the ADF, and just don't happen to get recorded. And in this secret meeting, this is where they discovered the deportation plan, or their deportation master plan.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of this is, if you are not a first generation, so if you are like a first generation immigrant, or you've emigrated to Germany, and you weren't born here, then you're going to get deported. So you could have German citizenship. I've already gone through like the 8 years necessary to sort of get German citizenship. If the ADF were in charge, you would get deported. And you were talking mass numbers of people in this deportation, but it's also including families as well. So if you had dependents or anything like that, also potentially reaches into second generation immigrants as well. So this is really far reaching, and they are talking about deporting millions of people if they took over. So yeah, a lot of people not very happy about this in Germany. There have been massive protests for the past couple of weeks since this came out, and now there's talk about making the ADF about banning them permanently as an illicit organization. Under German law, if you sort of promote sort of this type of right-wing propaganda, you get barred, essentially. As we say in the UK.
I'm very intolerant of intolerance, and this is isn't it the downfall of tolerant society, that you become too tolerant and you allow people who want to destroy society into positions of power. So yeah, that'd be a step in the right direction. Just refreshing to see so many people stand up against this kind of thing. Talking of people not standing up against this kind of thing, though, let's move over to America. First of all, did you hear about the Oscars news?
Oh,
so Barbie, the film Barbie, the blockbuster of the summer, right? Didn't get it got a nomination for best film, I think, but it didn't get a nomination for the director, who was a woman. But even more scandalously, Ryan Gosling has been nominated for an actor Oscar.
Right.
For playing Ken.
Right.
And Margot Robbie hasn't been nominated for an Oscar for playing Barbie. I wish I could find some kind of subtext in the film itself to address this problem.
I wonder what that could be.
Everyone in charge of everything are just old stale white men. And talking of old stale white men, it's the New Hampshire primaries today. Or primary, they only have one.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's primaries, isn't it? Plural, because they're having the Democrat one, but it's not a proper one, and Biden's name's not even on it, or something. You got to turn up and write his name in, or something. Anyway, so in the Republican field, there's just Nikki Haley, of the Comet fame, I think. And
everyone else has dropped out now.
And Donald Trump.
Either her or Trump. And it's going to be Trump. It was going to be Trump. We were pretty certain Trump was going to win it. And now we're more than certain it's going to be Trump.
Yeah. mate. We have already had 8 years of this. Every day for 8 years, Trump has been on the news doing something horrible, saying something horrible. His ugly, goddamn, disgusting orange face on the news every single day for 8 years. And now we're going to get it for another 4 years.
Well,
5 years.
Well, this is it. He's gonna win the Republican primary. That's not in doubt now. The big two things why I think Nikki Haley is trying to hang on there is I think she does believe that those criminal charges are going to kick in and that she's going to get the nomination from that. I also think that she thinks, well, Donald Trump might die before that. There's been a lot of talk among Republicans that given Trump's age, given sort of, if you like to play, percentages, Trump doesn't have the best of diets. He's not in the best of health. If you look at that statistically, you look at his age, look at the fact that there's been a lot of videos recently about his cognitive decline.
Yeah,
so many videos put out recently about that.
But they don't care about his cognitive decline. Do you know what I mean?
That
you had people like Joe Rogan
saying
that this cognitive decline. He was talking about Biden and saying that Biden thought they had aircraft carriers or something in airports in the Civil War, and it was actually Trump who said that. It wasn't Biden. They don't care. I don't care. My worry is that Mugabe lived till he was in his early 90s. So that's another 10 years, 15 years of his ugly, stupid, gormless, goddamn ugly face that looks like churned butter. Like turned butter, sorry, not churned. Butter that's gone off. That's what he looks like. He's just the shade of disgustingness. And I hate everything about him. Everything he stands for, everything he represents. This kind of gaudy, gold toilet, gilded age, rich gobshite who was born into money, never worked a day in his life. When he was president, he didn't do anything. He just played golf and told other people to do stuff, and they were like, no. And then he was like, "Oh,
lied about playing golf and cheated."
Yeah,
I think everyone who's ever played golf with Trump has pretty much said, "Yeah, he's cheated."
But I just hate cults, mate. I just hate cults that grow up around charismatic people, and you're like, just stop it. And I really, 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 really do not want to go another 5 years seeing him every single day on the front cover of the newspapers, on the front page of all the news sites.
Like I say, what I've said every time this comes up, when it comes to the actual general election in November, it's going to come down to turnout, because the last general election in November was the largest turnout of both parties, both Republican and Democrat.
But the thing is, it's not like Biden set the world on fire. Do you know what I mean?
Well, this is it. You look at some of the stuff that Biden's done, like the Inflation Reduction Act. That if you look at consequences for America, is massive. Like, that is an incredibly good act. It's bringing a lot of new technologies, a ton of stuff. In fact, if you look at this perspective from the UK, the Inflation Reduction Act is probably the biggest threat to the UK economy, not only just the UK economy, but European economy, the past 40 years, because they've invested so much money into new green energies, new technologies, new batteries,
yes,
new renewable stuff.
But this is to the exception
to America.
Yeah, but it's the exception of all other countries apart from America, except there is a deal now with the EU and America over this, so EU can be a preferred supplier. So I'm a little, I'm a little bit pissed off that we've left the EU, to be honest, because then we could have a slice of that massive pie. But
you had the shadow business secretary from Labour. He was in Davos this weekend. Well, this week. He was saying the UK should have its own Inflation Reduction Act.
Yes.
Not just the monetary amount of investments. We need to look at subsidies and how we use subsidies, because you can say, okay, we're going to subsidize this this industry, but we're going to say every pound that we give, that has to go into either developing your workforce, developing the business. It cannot go or be used in shareholder dividends and taken out of the business. So there's a ton of stuff that you can do with subsidies to make sure that those subsidies do stay and the money spent does stay in in those companies. We've just obviously had the big closure of Port Talbot. If the Conservatives had done something like that, then Port Talbot would not be, the blast furnaces there would not be closing down. But we'll see. We'll see what happens when because it's February the 8th, I think, the deadline for the submissions for manifesto stuff from Labour. So very shortly after that, we'll probably start to see some more concrete policies coming out, rather than, well, we think we want to do this, we've got this idea to do this. It'll be more sort of firm and locked in then about what Labour really sort of want to do.
Well, I mean, basically, so it was Rachel Reeves and Johnny Reynolds who went over there to Davos, and then this is something that would never have happened under the previous administration of Labour. But we need investment, mate. It's as simple as that. I mean, you know, I love to be ideological, but if it's the difference between people actually starving to death or freezing to death in this country, or dying waiting for an operation, or nice to haves, I'm sorry, I've just got to say, look, we've got to fix this problem, and we've had hardly any investments since 2016 when we voted out of the EU. And so Labour are consciously courting international investment in the UK in the way the Tories never have, because the Tories just say, oh, it's okay, we can grow all our own food and create all our own money, as if by magic, when we can't do that stuff, you know? They go on about sovereignty. They don't understand as soon as you've done a deal with someone, you've ceded some sovereignty. You know what I mean?
It's this is it. You have to go out and you have to court business, and you have to court business international, and you have to make the UK an attractive place for businesses to want to come and invest. And this is another fact, you know, I've really realized as well, the left does not talk enough about business as well. You know, we don't talk enough about left doesn't talk about enough about foreign policy. I don't think it talks enough about defense policy either. But also business, like the economy is a big topic. But if you're going to talk about businesses in the UK, 80% of the business infrastructure is directed at SMEs, that's small medium enterprises. So these companies have less than 500 workers employed to be an SME.
But I mean, most of
the business in this country are SMEs.
A lot of SMEs are looking to Labour now. The head of SME for Labour is the guy who runs the Kebab Awards, which take place next month. I mean, we've got Labour Business and SME for Labour are two of the officially affiliated groups within Labour. And Rachel Reeves, Keir Starmer, and Jonathan Reynolds, really massive push to be getting this investment in. But also, Johnny this week has been tasked with getting the 28 billion green investments nailed down. Like, how are they going to pay for it? Well, here's how we're going to pay for it. And there's lots of ways to pay for it. I mean, one of the things that the Tories are probably going to do in March is they're going to get rid of the inheritance tax, which is only paid by 4% of the population. And it's only after the first £1 million that you get tax-free if it's bequeathed from your parents. So
it's amazing how many people think they pay.
No, it's £1 million. If you've got two parents, one of them dies, they can then basically their $500,000, if they're your parent and it's a property, their $500,000 gets held. You know what it's called, escrow, not an escrow, but you know what I mean. Like it gets held until the other parent dies, and then you get full £1 million tax-free, and then you pay 40% on top of that. Oh, sorry, anything more you get than £1 million, which, you know, to most people in this country is nothing. It's either they're not going to pay anything at all, or it's going to be a small percentage of that £1 million. Whereas for Rishi Sunak's kids, him and his wife are going to be leaving their kids probably by the time they cark it £2 billion. Do you think they want to be paying 40% on that? Nope.
Yep.
And it's stuff like that, and the putting VAT on school fees, absolutely 100%. If you can afford £30,000 to send Tarquin or Guinevere off to Eton or Harrow, then you can afford an extra £10,000 to pay the bloody VAT. Sorry, top of the head maths isn't probably
Yeah.
six grand on 30 grand. But yeah, and Rachel in the chat has pointed out that the Tories do love a bit of Russian investment.
Yep. And that's something that Labour should also get on as well. Restarting the Russia investigation and taking the recommendations of what MI5 and MI6 and what other agencies have said.
Yeah.
It's something that really does need to be investigated. Of course, there's the golden parachute, the golden passport, where you are both a Russian and British citizen simultaneously. First thing Labour should do on day one is just say that's ending.
Yeah.
And you make a choice. You've got 6 months to decide whether you are Russian or whether you are in UK. If you're in the UK, fine, no problems. If you are Russian, well, then we're going to go seize your assets, and those are going to become Ukrainian. We're going to sell those, and all that money is going to go to Ukraine.
No more Lord Lebedev.
Yeah,
simple as that.
It should be just that simple.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul is saying that Yosser Hughes wouldn't recognise 2024. I think he would, because it's exactly like 1984. In that we are just in this world where the toffs have everything and the rest of us have bugger all, except, and this is a point that I keep trying to make, probably unsuccessfully, the second half of the 20th century, there was a lot more social mobility than there is now in the first quarter of this century. There just was. There was more social mobility. We had more prime ministers coming up through grammar schools and through, normal schools rather than the expensive ones. You had people who got ahead on their talents, their ability to write, their ability to act, their ability to produce or whatever. Now it is so much jobs for the boys and nepotism. Everywhere you look, it's nepotism. Or, the old school chum network. And that really disturbs me. And I hope Labour go some way to levelling the playing field there. And obviously the big one is universal basic income, because that would allow people to pursue their dreams rather than have to work.
I think that is going to be a conversation that will come around.
Why is it only the rich? Why is it only the born rich that can pursue their dreams?
Well, this is one of the things that there's a new study trial actually happening in Wales where children have been in foster care. Once they're 18, they get, I think it's 4 years pretty much of universal basic income.
Yeah.
And it's done to be seeing, how that can support them through sort of the rest of their education or whether they want to go and do something else. I think that's a fantastic initiative in itself.
Agreed.
But again, something that should be, universal. We could do it very easy. It would add a lot of money to the economy. It would make things a lot easier. But there's other things we have to worry about as well. Renting. And landlords have to be taken on, because if your landlord knows, well, everyone's getting X amount of universal basic income, guess how much your rent's going to go up by about that much. So again, there's a lot of stuff that would need doing beside that, but we'll see what happens in the next parliament, whether Labour can sort of really go after things like the landlords and take on things like we're seeing at the moment, the freehold debate. Whether freehold should just be either A, gotten rid of, or when you buy sort of a house or a flat, you automatically buy part of that particular leasehold and that freehold as well. So that basically the people can't just say, well, I own all this flat and I can charge you X amount or ever much as I want. And effectively do nothing for it, even less than a landlord. They don't even have to maintain the property, a freeholder. So,
wow,
something else that needs checking.
It's so bad, isn't it? That they just the bad guys just get away with it. It's like the end of Chinatown. Spoilers, sorry. Every freaking day, it's like, oh, who's got away with stuff today? Oh yeah, they got away with it. And we've got this weird thing in Britain, maybe in other countries as well, but that we feel like if you're rich, you should be given a sporting chance of getting away with it. We always think, oh, it's a bit unfair, because they got caught, but there were lots of other people who did a bad thing. Why weren't they caught? And I'm like,
oh, speaking of which, we probably should bring this up as well. Have you seen the new deep fake that's just dropped?
No. Maybe.
Oh, so this is again, this is why all of Parliament should be acting on this and acting on this quickly, because you may remember we had the deep fake about Keir Starmer shortly before the Labour conference, And now we've got a deep fake of Rishi Sunak being made, wishing Nigel Farage a happy birthday and saying that, don't worry, he's getting on with sorting the immigration problem.
Sounds. Well, apparently, according to the Evening Standard, there was more than 100 deepfake videos impersonating Rishi Sunak. Slew of deepfake adverts of Sunak on Facebook. And there's been, yeah. I mean, last August, there was a Labour MP criticised for sharing a doctored image of Rishi Sunak. That was the one where he poured a very, very bad pint of Guinness. Well, it was actually it was a stout. And the picture had been doctored to make it look like he had just poured a really lousy version of it. And the woman behind him's like giving him the eyes of like, what the hell is going on? But that wasn't actually real. So yeah, it's the thing is, I've had this conversation with Aid Thompson, who's particularly concerned about AI and how one of these things will get around the world before the debunkers have got the pants on. But we've been in this situation for years now where people just made shit up on the internet. They haven't had to doctor a photo or doctor a video. They just literally just make stuff up and people will believe it. And I think in a way it makes it worse because obviously there's more tech involved and you're like, oh, well, there's a video that can't be faked. But at the same time, it's better because we do know it can be faked. So now when we say deep fake, everybody knows what it means. Everybody knows what a deep fake video is. So the first thing I do when I see a video now is think, is this real? And there are people who are paid for the BBC and other, news companies. And
someone's just asked us to play it. So I'm just going to try and find it. Here we are. So
do you want to send it to me? Can you send it to me? Let's see if you can. Let's see if we can do some tech here. Oh, here we go. Have a look. Okay, right. So while I get this set up, mate, you tell me something about China and them banning video games. Well, banning.
So they haven't
play Pokemon every day in China anymore. Not that you could.
If you are a video game player or play video games, you will know for the past 10 years or so, monetization and gambling mechanics have ever become more prevalent in gaming. Ways to almost, exploit the audience more and more playing video games. And out of nowhere, as no one was expecting this, China comes out and goes, yeah, you can't do that anymore. No more loot boxes, no more gambling in video games, no more boxes where you get like random free items. You cannot use those types of mechanics at all in video games completely. And of course, Tencent, probably one of the biggest gaming companies in the world. When that happened, another Chinese gaming company also at the same time, they got 80 billion wiped off their stock price just from this one change of law alone. Now, it remains to be seen whether other countries might follow this, but there are other countries that have done it. Belgium have banned loot boxes in the past, but China going all in and just banning this outright, that's brand new. I've never seen that happen before. But hopefully, the other countries might follow this suit because we have seen a lot of gaming executives. If you follow someone like Stephanie Sterling, she talks constantly about how loot boxes really target people who do have gambling problems, or not even like gambling problems, but things like ADHD or many other problems that makes these people almost compulsively fall into these traps and not realize just how much they're spending on these types of games without even realizing it. So it is a really big issue. It is a really big issue that should be taken on and taken on. So we'll see if other countries pick this up. But of course, China's done it, and then you might get people saying, "Oh no, we can't do that because China. Oh, it's communists. Communists have done it. They're coming for your video games." They're not. They've probably actively made video games better over in China, which is again kind of sad that it was sort of done in China first. But there you go. We'll see what happens. But we did have a couple of months ago. We actually had actually last year we had a session on this. Who's it made FIFA got brought into this and got really taken to task on this, and they referred to it as surprise mechanics. Not gambling mechanics, surprise mechanics. So, you just get a nice surprise. So yeah, they know fully well what they're doing. They know that this sort of can't go on because it is being talked in about governments and how this is actually a big problem. We've seen an increase in gambling over the past couple of years, and a lot of people are pointing to these video games being the source of that increase of gambling addiction. So yeah, it is a problem, but we'll see what happens, how many other countries follow suit.
Hi Nigel. I just wanted to take a moment to wish you a very happy new year. Now, like you, I think immigration levels are too high. So I hope you know that today and every day throughout 2024, whether I'm working in my office in Downing Street or at home in Yorkshire, I will deliver for you.
Your mic's not on.
Sorry, did that just appear and you didn't know that it was going to appear?
Yeah, I didn't hear that. That just
no,
appeared.
But did you hear me say that I was going to put it on?
No.
Oh, right. Oh, shit. Sorry. I was just saying, I'm going to put the video on now. And then I put it on. But obviously, I muted my mic while I was faffing around, so you didn't have to hear me tapping away on my keyboard. So, yeah.
That was the deep fake. It looks, if you are not familiar with AI deepfakes or anything like that, you would think that was real, and that's really, really disturbing. That looks very real.
Yeah, and it's the sort of thing that Toys would put out because it was shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, did you see that Home Alone video we did for Christmas Day? I thought that was fake. I saw that and I went, that can't be real. Someone's made that, and I thought, no, actually,
that was real.
It was real. So I mean, if they won't be able to not make deep fakes, maybe they could make like the real stuff look really, really good. But I watched a Marvel movie the other day, and it looked shite. Like they were supposed to be on another planet or something, and it just looked like they were on a soundstage. And it honestly, mate, I couldn't believe that they'd spent all this money on this movie, and it just looked absolute bloody pants. It's supposed to be on another planet, make it look like another planet, not just that, And this is when people go, "Oh, they faked the moon landings." I'm like, no, they didn't. No, they didn't. They can't even get stuff like that to look good now. Never mind back then. But one of the things that I think about AI art and in general, not deep fake, which is slightly different, but AI, it all looks airbrushed. It never looks really real, and it's always a little bit uncanny valley. Like the eyes are always a bit too close
the
together.
eyes of the hands that are the dead giveaway.
Yeah. Dead eyes, too many fingers.
Yeah.
I think this might be AI. So yeah, I feel like it's less of a concern than people are making out because it's not artificial intelligence yet. I mean, we might get that at some point, but at the moment, what we call AI is effectively, there was a comedian who put it this way, it says just a very, very good predictive text. That's it. It's very this next level of predictive text, but garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah. Something else to expect in the not too distant future.
Oh, go on.
I've seen a lot of people on the far left trying to push the idea that the Starmer video, the Starmer audio, was actually real and not deep faked.
Oh, really?
So expect a lot of that in the near future. That wasn't a deep fake. That audio was 100% real.
Yeah. Simon Chandler in the chat saying Capricorn 1, great movie with Elliot Gould playing the journalist in it. O.J. Simpson was one of the crew, where they faked the landing on Mars, and then they were going to kill the astronauts and say they died on the way back, but the astronauts escaped. Oh, at least one of them did. I forgot the name of the guy who played the main astronaut. I'm sure someone's going to remind me in the chat. I'm sure it wasn't the first captain on Babylon 5. Was it Bruce Boxleiter? No, it couldn't have been. Someone tell me who played the commander of the module that didn't go to Mars in the movie Capricorn 1. A 5-star movie that no one's heard of. I love that. Rishi would have juddered naturally, paused longer, and looked around and passed the camera. Lol, says Blue Badge. Yeah, you're right, Blue Badger. 88.
Yeah, he would have.
And Vendetta says, Sunak has wonky dead eyes anyway. And also Running Man, which is another great show. So, yeah. Okay, so is there anything else that we need to talk about?
No, that's it really this week. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, Super Tiny 808 says June was good. Well, should we wrap it up there then?
Yeah.
Should we wrap it up a little bit early? So we came on late and we're leaving early, but you know, I've got things to do. So listen, I'll be back in the morning for Morning Brew at 8:30, followed by Prime Minister's Questions at 12 o'clock. So if you can join us for that, that'd be great. Ollie, are you around on Friday for the
I will be, I think.
Labour Social. Brilliant. Okay, awesome. Well, we'll see you then. And until next time, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.
Bye.